There are more than 10 such places. Each of them is connected to at least 2 worlds, and they are the intersection of the worlds. Green Cloud Mountain is one of them. After a pause, Sha Lu continued, I confirmed that Green Cloud Mountain is a 2-world mountain by accident. There is a very special place in the south of the mountain range. Ordinary divine consciousness power and mental spying will subconsciously avoid it. Bring me there to take a look, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit said decisively. Yes, master. Sha Lu simply got up and flew in front to lead the way. Swoosh! Swoosh! Su Jingxing's primordial spirit soared into the air and followed behind. He Sanshao naturally wouldn't miss such a secret and quickly followed. The trio flew through the air, crossing most of the Green Cloud Mountain range and arriving at the bottom of a cliff at the southernmost point. Right here. Sha Lu pointed at the cliff and said seriously, the mountain wall of this place was once a huge door that connected to other worlds. Really? He Sanshao was surprised. Releasing his will, he scanned the mountain wall and only discovered rocks, soil, and some small insects. There was no sign of the 2-world gates at all. It's naturally gone now. When Sha Lu heard this, he said calmly, as a 2-world mountain, Green Cloud Mountain had long been cut off from other worlds in ancient times. Naturally, this place no longer has a door. Then what do you think is special about it? Asked Su Jingxing's primordial spirit. Firstly, this mountain wall absorbs sunlight and moonlight, Sha Lu explained. Of course, if one doesn't sense carefully, they won't be able to notice this. Moreover, the sunlight and moonlight absorbed will quickly dissipate and not be stored. If I didn't happen to see and sense it, I wouldn't believe that the mountain wall is special. It's indeed hard to believe. He Sanshao nodded with a smile. You happened to discover this, so you found the secret? Of course this isn't enough, Sha Lu replied calmly. There are also mountain walls that absorb sunlight and moonlight elsewhere. Such a special scene has existed since ancient times, and its emergence happens quickly. At the beginning, I didn't think it could be a 2-world gate, let alone consider the fact that Green Cloud Mountain is a 2-world mountain. The second reason why I'm certain that this stone wall is a 2-world gate is because when it's infused with soul power, it will guide the power of the stars down and gather them for a period of time. What do you mean? He Sanshao frowned. You said that this stone wall can absorb soul power. That's right. Sha Lu nodded. When the stars in the sky change, and soul power is injected into the stone wall, it will be absorbed. Then, the stone wall will guide the power of the stars down and star maps will appear on its surface. However, this process will also end very quickly. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that the stone wall would have such a magical ability. Well, He Sanshao fell silent. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit thought for a moment and asked, according to you, this 2-world gate can still be reopened? We just have to infuse soul power into it. No, Sha Lu shook his head. The opening of a 2-world gate is built on the intersection of 2 worlds, such as a 2-world mountain, 2-world city, 2-world lake, and so on. It's very difficult for a 2-world gate to exist alone. It requires boundless energy as a driving force to maintain it. Once the energy is exhausted, the 2-world gate will immediately collapse and disappear. A space door? Teleportation array? Su Jingxing's primordial spirit was moved. Isn't this 2-world gate a different kind of interstellar teleportation array then? But it seems to be more advanced and has higher requirements for establishment. 2-world mountain, 2-world city, 2-world lake. These places are where 2 worlds converged and fused. Only with them can a 2-world gate be opened. So, if we want to open this door, we have to get Green Cloud Mountain to move first. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit pondered for a moment and asked. That's right. Sha Lu nodded. Green Cloud Mountain is a 2-world mountain, but it's no longer connected to other worlds. However, its special ability did not disappear with the disconnection of the two worlds. It is still connected to the world and linked to the universe with a trace of the power of the world. It's precisely this trace of power that affects the heavenly secrets, fate, laws, great Tao, and so on to a certain extent. I see. He Sanshao was enlightened. So the true abilities of Green Cloud Mountain have never appeared. The primordial spirit was silent. That's right. Green Cloud Mountain had such a strong background. It was once the intersection between other worlds and Earth Star. Until now, it had also affected all aspects of Earth Star. If this place were to be... Wait. Suddenly, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit thought of something and said in a low voice, "Will Green Cloud Mountain reopen? Or can we reconnect to Green Cloud Mountain again from the outside, from other worlds? After all, this used to be the intersection of two worlds, which means that there is a similar place in the other world. If the people on the other side were to rebuild the connection between the two worlds from the two-world mountain or two-world city on the other side, would Green Cloud Mountain return to being a two-world mountain?" Well, Sha Lu was stunned. He opened his mouth and looked around. After a while, he smiled bitterly and said, "Well, I'm not sure. I only learned about the two-world mountains from my bloodline legacy. I don't know the exact situation." This, He Sanshao was a little dumbfounded. Doesn't that mean that there is a possibility that the other world can really reconnect to Earth Star and come to us through Green Cloud Mountain? Not through teleportation passageways or the Void World. Instead, walk out from Green Cloud Mountain directly. I don't know. Sha Lu was speechless. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit was also silent. This seemed impossible, but the probability of it happening was not zero. This was because Green Cloud Mountain was still slightly connected to other worlds. Although the connection had been severed, it was not impossible for it to be rebuilt. Once that really happened, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit was quite reluctant to continue thinking about it. He had just dealt with the might of the barbarian god and the threat of the extraterrestrial devil insect. In the end, when he turned around, he realized that the true threat to Earth Star had always existed. Tens of thousands of years had passed since ancient times and it had never disappeared. Only, none of the current martial artists knew about it. Even Sha Lu, a member of the Winged Ones, did not know when he was in the southern wilderness. At that time, he was almost corroded by the demonic energy and turned into a demonic creature. The Winged Ones' bloodline was completely suppressed, and they could not unleash their strength at all. It was only when he arrived at Green Cloud Mountain and made use of the cleansing of pure worldly energy that he restored his true form and activated the power of his bloodline. Then, he accidentally discovered the secret of the stone wall in front of him. In the end, he confirmed the origin of the stone wall through his bloodline legacy. A two-world gate. And the true origin of Green Cloud Mountain, a two-world mountain. If not for the fact that the information hidden behind the two-world mountain was too shocking, this discovery would have been pleasant. Now, Green Cloud Mountain had also become one of the dangerous and forbidden areas. If someone had reactivated the fusion and convergence of the worlds connected to Green Cloud Mountain, then Green Cloud Mountain would reactivate its function as a two-world mountain. This was even more threatening than the Void World. This was because shuttling through the Void World was filled with danger. However, there would be no danger in using Green Cloud Mountain to come to Earth Star. Wild beasts, ferocious beasts, and mutated beasts. Were these threats to a transcendent grade martial artist? Not to mention the devils and demons in the spirit platform realm. This was also what Su Jingxing's primordial spirit was worried about. If the world once connected to the two-world mountain was occupied by the demons, devils, battle race, and other races, it would be a disaster for Earth Star. Green Cloud Mountain would become a passageway with doors wide open, allowing the demons, devils, and battle race to rush into Earth Star. What would happen to Earth Star in the end? Su Jingxing's primordial spirit didn't want to think about it. Of course, this was the worst outcome. If the other world was also a world ruled by humans and was more friendly, Earth Star would welcome an opportunity for everyone to become stronger. The development of things. Wait, something is happening. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit thought of something and said, "There's no hurry with Green Cloud Mountain. It's not certain if it can be reactivated as a two-world mountain. For so many years, Green Cloud Mountain has not reactivated the intersection of two worlds. It might not happen in the future." That's true. He Sanshao nodded with a smile. Activating the two-world mountain is as difficult as disconnecting it. How can it be reconnected just like that? Therefore, there's no hurry here. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit looked at Sha Lu, just pay more attention to this. Yes. Sha Lu nodded respectfully. Seeing this, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit said calmly, I have something else to attend to. I'll make a move first. With that, it soared into the sky and returned to the void world at lightning speed. Then, it walked through the void world and arrived in the sky above the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin. The situation did not happen on Green Cloud Mountain, but at the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin. Blood Imprisonment Tower. At this moment, outside the tall building of the Blood Imprisonment Tower, a burly figure sat cross-legged in the air with his eyes closed. Streams of light coiled around his body, and his aura had fused with the world. Dongfang Pochu. Previously, a peak first-grade expert who was a great general at the border of the Yu Nation and the former New Chu Nation. At this moment, bathed in the flowing light, his body had fused with the world. Clearly, he had entered a certain state. Ming, what's going on? In his mind, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit connected to the tower spirit of the cosmic tower, Ming. Master, this person's compatibility with cosmic is not high. He has been training in the blood imprisonment tower space. Just a moment ago, his soul suddenly broke through the blood imprisonment space and connected to the void. Ming wasn't really answering the question. But Su Jingxing's primordial spirit understood. In its surprise, it sighed and said, looks like my blood imprisonment tower has really helped to produce some geniuses. Master, the blood imprisonment space is equipped with trial conditions to begin with. This person was able to make a breakthrough in a day with the help of the trials. Although he is talented, without the help of the final push, he will never be able to make a breakthrough in his lifetime, Ming replied calmly. Especially when this person's mind is lacking. Even if he produces an essence soul, he will not be able to reach the primordial spirit realm. That's right, Dongfang Pochu had made a breakthrough. This great general of the prefecture army had entered the blood imprisonment space for a trial and finally crossed the boundary between the first grade and the transcendent grade and became a martial sage. After Xia Tsangxuan, the Yu Nation finally had a new martial sage. Su Jingxing had taken a shortcut and relied on cheats. Although Dongfang Pochu had also borrowed the ability of the blood imprisonment space, he had reached here step by step and used his physical body as a divine embryo before producing an essence soul. At this moment, his body was floating in the air, and his soul was connected to the void. He was completing the final step, the manifestation of the essence soul. If this was done in the blood imprisonment space, it would affect the blood imprisonment tower and cause certain damage. For this, Ming moved Dongfang Pochu out of the blood imprisonment tower. In this aspect, Su Jingxing had previously granted Ming a certain scope of authority. After all, Su Jingxing didn't have that much time to keep an eye on the blood imprisonment tower. With Ming taking care of it, he would have it much easier. Although Ming looked down on Dongfang Pochu, to Su Jingxing, it was a great thing that Dongfang Pochu had reached the transcendent grade. He could finally hand over the position of martial sage. In the sky, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit hid itself and guarded Dongfang Pochu as he completed the last step. On the ground, Yu Nation's martial artists who were waiting around the blood imprisonment tower watched Dongfang Pochu's strange state with curious and puzzled expressions. What's going on? What's with Great General Dongfang? That's right. Why did he suddenly come out of the martial sage tower? No, General Dongfang didn't come out by himself. It seems like he was thrown out by the martial sage tower. Shut up. Do you want to die? How dare you mock a martial sage? Confused, puzzled, and curious. On the ground, the martial artists waiting to enter and the prefecture army maintaining order were all looking at Dongfang Pochu in the air and discussing softly. Martial artists in the lower and middle ranks could not tell what was going on with Dongfang Pochu. However, the martial artists in the top ranks were each more excited than the other. Unlike martial artists in the lower and middle ranks who waited directly outside the Blood Imprisonment Tower, they stopped around the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin or simply waited on the mountains outside the basin. However, at this moment, all the martial artists in the top ranks were floating in midair. They looked at Dongfang Pochu excitedly. This is a breakthrough. Dongfang Pochu is advancing to the transcendent grade. I didn't expect this, I really didn't expect this. The Martial Sage Tower can actually allow someone to break through the bottleneck of the first grade and advance to the transcendent grade. Good, good, good. If Dongfang Pochu can advance, it means that we can too. As expected of the tower given by Martial Sage descended. It directly allowed Dongfang Pochu to walk the path we have always wanted to take, walking ahead of all of us. If Dongfang Pochu becomes a new transcendent grade martial artist, doesn't that mean that the U-Nation will have 2 martial sages in the future? The group of martial artists in the top ranks looked at Dongfang Pochu with eyes filled with excitement and ecstasy. That's right, if Dongfang Pochu could succeed, so could they. Dongfang Pochu could use the Martial Sage Tower to advance to the transcendent grade. Why couldn't they? At this moment, all the first-grade martial artists were excited. They wished they could enter the Martial Sage Tower immediately. More third-grade and second-grade martial artists sent messages to the factions behind them. For a time, news of Dongfang Pochu's advancement to the transcendent grade spread to the upper echelons of all the major factions in the U-Nation and the original New Chu Nation. Quick, go to the Martial Sage Tower. Dongfang Pochu is about to advance to the transcendent grade. Huh, this is great. The U-Nation is going to have 2 martial sages now. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect Dongfang Pochu to get first place. The power of the Martial Sage Tower is amazing. Dongfang Pochu is not bad either. If he can do it, so can Grandpa. Let's go. We'll discuss this with the cabinet. No matter the price, we must enter the Martial Sage Tower as soon as possible. Today, Dongfang Pochu succeeded, tomorrow, Nangongsheng, will too. For a time, all the major factions in the U-Nation were in action. They were either rushing towards the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin or going to the cabinet to discuss obtaining a spot to enter the Martial Sage Tower in advance. If they really had to follow the rules for a fair selection, it would take a few years for all the martial artists in the country to get their chance to enter a second time. That would be too much of a waste of time. To large factions, time was money. If there was a first-grade martial artist among them who advanced to the transcendent grade and became the second martial sage, their faction would definitely immediately become the top one in the U-Nation. This temptation was not something outsiders could imagine. It was not like the allocation of spots could not be changed. Even if they were afraid of offending martial sage Kong Xian, they could still buy spots from people who had already obtained them. Therefore, once the news that Dongfang Pochu was about to reach the transcendent grade was released, all the major factions in the country were shocked. Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin. Outside the Blood Imprisonment Tower. Under the gaze of countless people, the glow around Dongfang Pochu grew stronger. His body became fainter and fainter, turning from corporeal to illusory. During this process, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit took in everything from the sky. Su Jingxing had an essence soul and took a shortcut. This was the first time he was seeing a normal divine embryo hatching an essence soul. He could not help but be curious. Others might not be able to sense Dongfang Pochu's current state, but Su Jingxing's primordial spirit could clearly see it. The transformation from the inside out, from the physical body to the soul, was very perfect. It was like a silkworm transforming into a moth, breaking out of its cocoon and becoming a butterfly. At a certain moment, a force from the void entered Dongfang Pochu's body. Then, whoosh! The sky shone brightly, and light flowed everywhere. Under the gaze of countless people on the ground and in midair, a translucent figure emerged from Dongfang Pochu's body. First, he bent down, then straightened up. Finally, he raised his head and puffed out his chest, looking straight ahead. Dongfang Pochu's essence soul was out. All right. He succeeded, he really succeeded. Ha ha ha, this is great, this is great. All the experts in the top ranks cheered for this scene. On the ground, the martial artists in the lower ranks and middle ranks also recovered from their shock and shouted excitedly. The overwhelming shouts woke Dongfang Pochu's essence soul up from its dazed state, and it looked down at the ground. What happened to me? Dongfang Pochu's essence soul was puzzled. Then, it saw its own physical body. This is... Congratulations, General Dongfang. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit descended from the sky at the right time and manifested its figure in the thunder dragon bone armor. It slowly walked to Dongfang Pochu's essence soul. General Dongfang has advanced to the transcendent grade today, giving the Yu Nation another martial sage. This is a joyous occasion for the Yu Nation. Everyone, let us congratulate General Dongfang and the Yu Nation. The primordial spirit's voice resounded through the sky and ground. Congratulations to the Yu Nation. Congratulations to the Yu Nation. Louder cheers sounded from the sky and ground. Excited shouts also sounded from all over the Yu Nation. This was because when Su Jingxing's primordial spirit was speaking earlier, it had used the divine light projection technique to project this scene to every prefecture in the Yu Nation. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit and Dongfang Pochu's essence soul were clearly presented in the sky of the various prefectures, allowing everyone in the Yu Nation to see and hear them. Although this news was a little sudden for ordinary people and they were at a loss, it was definitely a great thing, a joyous occasion. Not to mention that Su Jingxing's primordial spirit had personally appeared to congratulate the Yu Nation. How could the entire country not be excited? A new martial sage. It's actually a new martial sage. I know great General Dongfang Pochu. He's a great hero. I didn't expect him to become the second martial sage today. He's amazing. Ha ha ha, the Yu Nation now has 2 martial sages. Dare I ask who else in the other countries is unconvinced and dissatisfied? The Yu Nation is mighty. Martial Sage Kong is mighty. Martial Sage Dongfang is mighty. Cheers, shouts, screams. At this moment, joy and celebration filled the entire Yu Nation. When the surrounding countries heard the news, they all fell silent. Yes, just as the citizens of the Yu Nation had said, now that there were 2 martial sages in the Yu Nation, who would dare to offend them? Wait, 2 martial sages. In the Jing Nation, Luo Ao narrowed his eyes with a faint smile. Hee, since when can a dynasty worship 2 martial sages? Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin. When Dongfang Pochu's essence soul heard the announcement by Su Jingxing's primordial spirit, it was first shocked. In the next moment, its expression changed drastically and it quickly said, I'm not. General Dongfang, there's no hurry. We'll talk in the void world later. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit interrupted Dongfang Pochu's essence soul and said calmly, before that, we should celebrate with the entire country. Let everyone enjoy this to their heart's content. Yes, replied Dongfang Pochu, suppressing the palpitations in his heart and bowing his head. Most people did not take this expression to heart. A small number of people snapped out of their excitement and their expressions changed. However, the aura of Su Jingxing's primordial spirit remained unchanged. After a while, he informed the entire country through the projection that the future martial sage of the U nation would be Dongfang Pochu. Then, without explaining or saying anything, he flew back to the void world. Dongfang Pochu's essence soul hurriedly followed behind and entered the void world, U nation's territory. Martial Sage Kong, I'm not. I said, don't be anxious. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit interrupted again and said gently, firstly, I have to tell General Dongfang something. I'm not Xia Tsangxuan's successor. I'm the martial sage he nurtured to guard the U nation on his behalf. Martial Sage Kong, you mean, Dongfang Pochu's essence soul was puzzled. My meaning is simple. From now on, you are the martial sage of the U nation. With that, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit summoned the kingdom-defending jade seal and handed it to Dongfang Pochu's essence soul. It said rather excitedly, this kingdom-defending jade seal is yours to keep from now on. Dongfang Pochu's essence soul did not move. Shock and disbelief appeared in its eyes. Why did his expression change and he was so agitated earlier? It was because, in a dynasty, there was only one kingdom-defending martial sage. Without the help of the kingdom-defending jade seal, other transcendent-grade martial artists would be more than twice as weak compared to the kingdom-defending martial sage. In history, it was not rare for a nation to have 2 or even 3 transcendent-grade martial artists. However, since ancient times, there was only one kingdom-defending martial sage in every dynasty. Basically, every transcendent-grade martial artist wanted to be the kingdom-defending martial sage after advancing because the kingdom-defending martial sage could obtain the sage origin fruit through the jade seal. The sage origin fruit was a key treasure to advancing beyond the transcendent grade. Now, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit had handed the kingdom-defending jade seal to Dongfang Pochu's essence soul. What did it mean? This meant that Su Jingxing's primordial spirit had given up on the sage origin fruit. Or rather, the sage origin fruit was not something impressive in the eyes of Su Jingxing's primordial spirit. Other transcendent grade experts would love to seize such a treasure, but Su Jingxing's primordial spirit had casually abandoned it. With this in mind, not only was Dongfang Pochu's essence soul not agitated, it even felt fear and panic from the bottom of its soul. You. Don't be nervous, said Su Jingxing's primordial spirit gently. I'm not joking with you. In fact, I became the martial sage of the U nation because I had no choice. Xia Tsangxuan died too quickly previously and a new martial sage had yet to be born in the U nation. I happened to be entrusted with taking care of the U nation for 10 years, so I became the temporary kingdom-defending martial sage. But now that you have reached the transcendent grade, General Dongfang, I will naturally return this position of the kingdom-defending martial sage to you. Compared to me, you are the true next kingdom-defending martial sage. Dongfang Pochu's essence soul was silent. Shock, astonishment, and excitement flickered in its eyes. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit had exposed too much information to it. There was no need for Su Jingxing's primordial spirit to lie to it about such matters because there were no benefits. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit had even given up on the kingdom-defending jade seal. What else was there to lie about? It calmed his mind and emotions. Dongfang Pochu's essence soul retracted its gaze and looked at Su Jingxing's primordial spirit. It began seriously, may I ask what realm martial sage Kong is in now? Void soul? Soul fixation? Or soul formation? None of that. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit shook its head. Dongfang Pochu's essence soul was puzzled. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit continued, I'm a primordial spirit. The first step in the hatching of an essence soul by a divine embryo was to reach the void soul realm. Then transform during the void soul realm into the soul fixation realm. Another transformation during soul fixation to reach soul formation. This soul formation referred to the complete transformation of the essence soul into a primordial spirit. From the essence soul to the primordial spirit, 3 steps were required. When Dongfang Pochu was in the 2nd grade, he had learned about this information from the ancient records of the Unation. However, he only knew a few terms: soul, soul fixation, soul formation, and primordial spirit. He still did not understand the deeper meaning they represented. Even though he didn't understand, this didn't mean that he was ignorant. On the contrary, Dongfang Pochu's essence soul knew very well how difficult it was to transform from the void soul to the primordial spirit. Since ancient times, there were only a few people on Earth Star who had achieved the primordial spirit. He had dreamed of stepping into the transcendent grade and possessing his own essence soul, but he had never thought of reaching the primordial spirit realm. Because it was too far away. So far away that he didn't dare to think about it. But today, at this moment, someone told him that he was already a primordial spirit. This person was the martial sage of the Unation, the biggest contributor to the Unation's annexation of New Chu. Did such an existence need to lie? Dongfang Pochu's essence soul did not think too much about it. In his limited understanding of Kong Xian's words were filled with confidence. There was no doubt that he was telling the truth. The famous Kong Xian was really a primordial spirit. To an ordinary transcendent grade martial artist, the sage origin fruit was a rare treasure. But to a primordial spirit, it was just dessert. Even Kong Xian's abdication of the position of martial sage was also because it brought more trouble than gain for him. Therefore, Dongfang Pochu fell silent. Kong Xian gave up readily, but Dongfang Pochu's essence soul could not agree readily. Because if it did, in the eyes of others, it would be seizing the position of martial sage from Kong Xian. Of course, Dongfang Pochu's essence soul wanted to be the kingdom-defending martial sage. However, it had just broken through to the transcendent grade and had yet to stabilize its realm. It was difficult to convince the masses no matter how one looked at it. Why aren't you saying anything? Dongfang Pochu's essence soul was silent, but Su Jingxing's primordial spirit had no intention of waiting. It said, "Don't worry, I've already explained the situation. No one will say anything. On the contrary, you've done me a great favor by taking my position." Without waiting for Dongfang Pochu's essence soul to agree, it threw the kingdom-defending jade seal over. Then, he quickly said, "I'll leave the Unation to you. The monsters and void beasts in the void world rarely come out. You just have to keep an eye on the Unation's territory." With that, he waved at Dongfang Pochu's essence soul, picked up the wandering dragon saber, and left the void world. He had finally gotten rid of his burden. The responsibility of guarding the void world was greater than the gains. Given the strength of Su Jingxing's primordial spirit, continuing to guard the Unation was basically a waste of time. The appearance of Dongfang Pochu's essence soul at this time had been a great help. In the future, Dongfang Pochu's essence soul would be in charge of all parts of the Unation. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit would only take action if it encountered a huge problem that Dongfang Pochu's essence soul could not resolve. After all, he had promised the rising dragon Saber King that he would guard the Unation for 10 years. He still had 8 years left. In these 8 years, Dongfang Pochu's essence soul would probably be able to grow too. As for the impact of handing the position of martial sage to another to the Unation, they existed, but they were very limited. To most ordinary people, martial sage Kong was still martial sage Kong. However, there was now a martial sage Dongfang. As a senior, martial sage Kong naturally had to take care of the newbie and allow martial sage Dongfang to make appearances more often. They didn't know the truth behind this, nor were they interested in paying attention to it. Those who knew about the matters behind the scenes would not reveal anything unnecessary either. After all, this matter concerned martial sages. Whether it was the senior martial sage Kong or the newbie martial sage Dongfang, it would be too easy for them to crush one person or one group of people. Therefore, the handover between the new and old martial sages was unexpectedly calm. The chaos that Luo Ao wanted to see had never happened. Dongfang Pochu's newly formed essence soul was too ambitious and recklessly challenged Kong Xian and ended up being killed, becoming the fastest transcendent grade to die in history. Such a thing had never happened since the beginning. The scene that Luo Ao hoped for was completely his imagination. This made him furious and disappointed. The situation was about the same for the others. Although he knew that no matter what reaction Dongfang Pochu's essence soul had, it would not affect Kong Xian at all, it was still a pity when the outcome was out. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit paid no attention to this. It was good that the Yu nation was peaceful. Whether the other countries were in turmoil or not had nothing to do with him. All it had to do now was wait patiently. Wait for the best time to comprehend the law of destruction. There was no need for him to guard the void world. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit left the Thunder Dragon bone armor and returned to the Qinghe City crematorium. It was rare for him to get together with a few old friends. The ordinary cards extracted from the crematorium were now automatically accumulated and categorized. Su Jingxing couldn't be bothered to look at them now. It was the same for the Kuntian world. Su Jingxing's main body continued to search for the Thunder Cloud Thread insect in case he didn't have enough Thunder Gathering cards. Once he began to comprehend the law, he could not stop. With such matters, the outcome was either a success or failure. With the help of the Thunder Gathering card, it would be a huge waste if he still failed. Time flew by. Finally, the best time to comprehend had come for the primordial spirit on Earth Star. On the last day of the second month, he arrived on the north side of Green Cloud Mountain and picked a mountain peak. He asked Sha Lu to keep guard. He took out the Thunder Gathering cards one by one and unlocked them to release the power of guiding lightning and thunder. He only comprehended the destructive Tao sentiment within. A trace of Tao sentiment was a trace. Those with weak soul power could not even sense them. Su Jingxing's primordial spirit was unprecedentedly focused. It held on to a trace of Tao sentiment and analyzed it carefully before trying to comprehend the mysteries within. As there was only a trace, it naturally disappeared quickly. In less than 3 seconds, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit lost its sense of it. But soon, he unlocked another Thunder Gathering card and continued to comprehend. As such, one Thunder Gathering card after another was unlocked and wasted by Su Jingxing's primordial spirit. All to obtain the traces of the destructive Tao sentiment contained within. 100, 200, 300. When he reached the 400th, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit finally captured what the power of destruction was. Then, it followed this path and kept moving upwards, understanding it in depth. 500 Thunder Gathering cards, 600 Thunder Gathering cards, 700 Thunder Gathering cards. When the 1000th Thunder Gathering card was unlocked, by a narrow margin, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit understood what destruction was. Then, it unlocked dozens of newly obtained Thunder Gathering cards and worked on its deep understanding of the law of destruction, from familiarizing to control. As for mastering it, it was too difficult. Relying on the traces of Tao sentiment in the Thunder Gathering cards to grasp the law of destruction was no less than a fantasy. Even if Su Jingxing's primordial spirit had hacks, it would not be able to do so. It was enough to be able to control the law of destruction. Of course, the range of the initial control was limited. The law of destruction often existed in lightning and thunder, and was most compatible with them. Su Jingxing's main body had become an overlord body due to the void divine thunder, and he had long comprehended this. Therefore, Su Jingxing's primordial spirit successfully comprehending the law of destruction was essentially the same as Su Jingxing's main body transcending the void lightning tribulation. They both relied on each other's help to ultimately succeed. Therefore, destroying the void required the help of lightning and thunder. The law of destruction targeted the void world and the destruction began with lightning and thunder. In particular, the lightning and thunder of the Kuntian world had long existed in the thunderclouds. To destroy the void, controlling the lightning and thunder was also the key. Su Jingxing had comprehended the law of destruction, but his control at the beginning was not only stiff, but also extremely threatening. Not only externally, but internally as well. For this, Su Jingxing was not in a hurry to destroy the void. He had to familiarize himself with the law of destruction and familiarize himself with it. Otherwise, rashly destroying the void would be too much of a threat to Earthstar as well. Even if they wanted to destroy the void, they would have to destroy the Kuntian world's void. Kuntian world. Swoosh. 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 Su Jingxing flew in midair. Suddenly, he turned around and saw 5 figures flying behind him. Swoosh. Su Jingxing suddenly froze and quickly turned around. He looked at the people who had come. Are you chasing me? Ha, we are. 5 devils with dense auras surrounded Su Jingxing. The person who spoke was a man with a black silver horn on his head. His eyes were unruly as he stared at Su Jingxing and sized him up. You're the new human spiritual martial arts overlord, right? So what if I am and so what if I'm not? Su Jingxing's expression turned cold as he recognized these people. Hee, that's good. The leader of the group said with a strange smile, before we begin fighting, let me introduce myself. My name is Hein Fenggui. I'm from the Black Silver Demon race and am ranked 3rd among the Demon Kings. Of course, this ranking is done by others. I've never admitted it. You're a human spiritual martial artist, so your strength is naturally not bad. It takes one to know one. Su Jingxing smiled faintly. May I know why you're chasing me? Haha. Hein Fenggui smiled faintly. It's nothing much. I just arrived here and heard that the human race has just produced a spiritual martial arts overlord, so I wanted to see if he is as powerful as the legends say. This Hein Fengmang is another demon king from our race. It will challenge you on our behalf. Hein Fenggui turned to introduce the burly demon on the right. I wonder if you dare to accept the challenge. It turned around and smiled at Su Jingxing. Does it make any difference whether I dare or not? Su Jingxing replied coolly. That's true. Hein Fenggui nodded. Alright, Fengmang, you can get started now. Ha ha ha. The burly demon cackled sinisterly. In a flash, it crossed a few steps and arrived in front of Su Jingxing. Its speed was astonishing as it threw a punch at Su Jingxing's face. Caught off guard, Su Jingxing forcefully blocked the other party's punch. Bang! A dull thud sounded. Su Jingxing felt his arms tremble. Under the powerful push, his body was driven back more than 10 meters. His feet stomped in the air repeatedly, leaving behind vortexes. Swoosh! Before Su Jingxing could react, Hein Fengmang rushed over again. Bang! This time, Su Jingxing also charged forward. Then. Pa! 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 Energy illusions that shot out in all directions immediately appeared. Light bloomed like fireworks. The demonic power that was filled with a charming aura was almost blinding. Su Jingxing punched without holding back. However, Hein Fengmang was especially powerful. Bang! 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 A dull bang lingered under the thunderclouds. The aftermath of the energy that erupted was like a wave on the sea, sweeping out wantonly and spreading in all directions. Swish! Swish! The clouds rolled and slowly dissipated. Under Su Jingxing's continuous attacks, Hein Fengmang's burly body slowly appeared. It was actually not affected at all. It was still standing in its original position. However, a black and red metal armor had appeared on its body. A defensive treasure. Su Jingxing's eyes flashed when he saw what it was. The demons naturally had similar treasures and weapons. With such a defensive treasure, his chances of easily winning had undoubtedly decreased significantly. However, that was all. Human spiritual martial artist, I'll give you a chance. If you can defeat Hein Fengmang, I can consider leaving your corpse intact. Ha ha ha. Hein Fenggui, who had retreated to the side, grinned widely. Thank you for your kindness, but there's no need. Su Jingxing chuckled and looked straight at Hein Fengmang. The latter turned and stretched its neck, producing ear-piercing cracking sounds. A human spiritual martial arts overlord is nothing more than this. Hein Fengmang's hoarse voice sounded through the armor and it said in a muffled voice, "Surrender now and I can give you a quick death." A quick death? Heh, we'll talk about it after you defeat me. Su Jingxing sneered. He could tell that the black-silver race was probably the race with the strongest physical body among the demons. That was why a fifth-realm devil king could resist a spiritual martial artist and not fall immediately. Alright, in that case, I'll let you accept your death willingly. A cold glint flashed across Hein Fengmang's eyes as it shouted. As soon as it finished speaking, its hand suddenly lit up. When the light dissipated, a pair of scarlet gloves appeared. Dong! Space shattered. A heavy sound reverberated in the air. As the glove struck the ground instantly collapsed, revealing a huge hole dozens of meters deep. Cracks that resembled a spider web covered the hole. In the next moment, Hein Fengmang, in its metal armor, revealed a pair of cold eyes and swept across. A bloodthirsty and manic gaze pierced towards Su Jingxing. Who? It swung its fists and unleashed a terrifying force, producing ear-piercing whistling sounds that swept through the thunderclouds. The sounds were like bellows, shocking everyone. Die! Hein Fengmang roared. Like lightning, its fists emitted a blood-colored glow as it charged towards Su Jingxing. Bang! The air exploded. A powerful force swept through the air. The massive sheets of airflow that seeped out sliced out clear marks in the air. Like waves, they stacked up, pushing and pacing each other. Wave after wave, they spread out in all directions. Great timing. Su Jingxing growled and punched out with 80% of his physical strength. Before this, he had only used 30%. So. Boom. The two powerful forces collided and stirred together. Boom. 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 One tremor after another resounded under the thunderclouds. Swoosh. At a certain moment, Su Jingxing moved and controlled his physical strength to punch out with the meteor fist. Boom. There was an explosion in the air. His physical strength transformed into invisible fist shadows that appeared perfectly in the air. One after another, they overlapped and pushed each other. Like angry dragons, they appeared with a roar. Bang! With a boom, Hein Fengmang exploded. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it turned into a rain of flesh and blood that filled the sky. Card +1. Silence. Dead silence. The world was absolutely silent at this moment. Everyone's gaze was stunned by this scene. Immediately after, everyone, including Hein Fengmang, turned to look at Su Jingxing. At this moment, Su Jingxing was holding his spoils of war, the scarlet gloves previously in the hands of Hein Fengmang. His spiritual martial arts divine consciousness invaded the interior of the glove and destroyed the core demonic marks. Instead, he left behind his own soul imprint. The moment it was completed, the ferocious glow and blood-red light of the scarlet gloves instantly disappeared and were replaced by golden-red divine light. The halo that seemed to be dancing like a giant dragon was like the most dazzling ruby in the world, emitting a dazzling and charming glow that made one feel deeply intoxicated. A high-grade demonic artifact instantly became a high-grade divine weapon. Even someone as powerful as Hein Fengmang could be destroyed at will. Seeing this, Hein Fengmang was shocked and furious. It stared at Su Jingxing with spitting fire in its eyes, its chest heaving slightly. "I'm sorry, I couldn't control myself and didn't leave his corpse behind," Su Jingxing said calmly as he met Hein Fengmang's gaze. "Ha!" Hein Fengmang sneered and growled, "Human spiritual martial arts overlord, you're indeed strong. I hope you can continue to be as good." Whoosh! A blood-colored cold light suddenly appeared, and a dazzling blood glow suddenly bloomed in the air in front of Hein Fengui. In the cold light, a long red saber that seemed to be made of blood appeared out of thin air. Swoosh! A sharp beam tore through the air. The scarlet saber was fully formed. It was completely blood-red, as if it was refined from countless rubies. It emitted a domineering, sharp, and dead-killing aura. This aura made one shiver uncontrollably and tremble in fear. Even their souls trembled at that moment. Another high-level demonic artifact. Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. He could feel the dense aura of death coming from the scarlet saber. This was the aura left behind after killing countless people. It was condensed and refined from an endless tragic baneful aura, combined with a massive amount of blood to be finally formed. Spiritual martial arts overlord, receive this. Black Silver Fengui held the scarlet saber in its hand and grinned sinisterly. As soon as it finished speaking. Swoosh! A crimson glow flashed. The worldly energy in the air was instantly stirred. The surging and chaotic energy in the air above Hein Fengui instantly transformed into a hideous giant beast. It opened its bloody mouth and roared at the sky. Su Jingxing's eyes turned solemn. Boom! Lightning bloomed in the thunderclouds. Hein Fengui resisted the external aura and walked with its feet, wreaking havoc with its saber. Thump! The air shook. Hein Fengui's originally muscular body was once again augmented by an inexplicable aura, becoming even taller and more powerful. Then, it stepped into the air and leaped high. Almost instantly, it passed through the air and appeared above Su Jingxing's head. At this moment, the blood-colored saber in its hand suddenly spun and was raised high. It formed a strange trajectory in the air as the blade slashed down towards Su Jingxing. Swish! 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 A crimson glow bloomed and afterimages flew past. Sharp blood-red blade beams appeared in the air and instantly transformed into hideous and terrifying scarlet ferocious beasts. These blood-colored beasts were lifelike, as if they were real. However, their shapes were terrifying. They were all combinations of various lifeforms. Human bodies with ox hooves and horse heads, lion heads with pig bodies and human faces, human hands with eagle heads and sheep bodies. All kinds of combinations left one shocked and furious. Every one of these monsters had extreme pain and resentment on their faces. Clearly, they had been forcefully devoured by the blood-colored demonic saber and trapped in the saber when they were alive. Therefore, when it erupted at this moment, it emitted a torrential ferocious aura that was so dense that it was almost sticky. An intense resentful aura soared into the sky, scattering the thunderclouds and dispersing everything. A terrifying aura that could destroy the world shook the 9 heavens. Wah! Miserable cries that sounded like the howls of ghosts echoed above Su Jingxing's head. The monsters that were manifested were all staring at him with ferocious and bloodthirsty gazes. They either opened their huge mouths or extended their sharp fangs. Amidst the whistling, they pounced fiercely at Su Jingxing. The demonic blade roared. In an instant, worldly energy surged. The airflow in the air immediately became chaotic. The entire sky seemed to have fallen into a quagmire, becoming sticky and turbid. In the air, the overlapping shadows of the monsters that were screaming and roaring descended from the sky with a terrifying suppression. Faced with this attack, Su Jingxing's body suddenly tensed up. As a cold light flickered in his eyes, he circulated the meteor fist to the extreme and struck out at the monster phantoms that were pouncing down. Thump! A heavy bang spread in all directions as space shattered. Strong winds howled, and the sky became dark, as if the end of the world had arrived. In the air, endless black clouds that were like ink were swimming crazily in the clouds like evil dragons. A scorching wind wreaked havoc in the world. A burning, domineering, and destructive vortex was released on the surface of Su Jingxing's fist. The next moment, starlight bloomed. Boom! The air exploded and resounded through the sky. Under the furious gaze of Heian Fengui, a giant meteor fist that seemed to have descended from the sky appeared in the air. Heian Fengui's pupils constricted immediately. Bang! Bang! Boom! With a shocking bang, the air surged continuously. Everywhere the scorching aura passed, fiery red ripples appeared in the air, slowly spreading like waves. Crack! 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 A sound like metal rubbing against metal suddenly sounded in the air. Immediately after, following a series of violent energy collisions, all the blood energy in baneful aura exploded. Thump! The air trembled violently. The violent impact of energy seemed to shake space. Even the ground shook violently a few times. The attack lasted for about 3 seconds before turning into nothing. Huff! The aura around Heian Fengui rose. Su Jingxing had neutralized his attack with a single punch. While this shocked Heian Fengui, a wave of anger rose in his heart at the same time. Good, good, good. Heian Fengui took a deep breath. Demonic energy fluctuated around its body, spinning and warping crazily. Thank you for the compliment. Su Jingxing replied calmly, Demon King, do you still want to continue? Of course. Heian Fengui growled. With a thud, it shattered space as it stomped down. Then, the blood-colored saber in his hand danced in the air and slashed at Su Jingxing. Rip! The air was sliced apart, creating a gap. Violent worldly energy instantly exploded. Like lightning, Heian Fengui shot towards Su Jingxing. Boom boom boom. It released the torrential aura of a fifth-realm devil king. The suppression was as heavy as a mountain, and it followed one like a shadow. The demonic saber in his hand continuously transformed into terrifying fusion monsters that screamed and snarled. They cruelly tore through the air and pounced crazily. Firmament Nirvana Palm. Su Jingxing growled. The meteor fist had limits, and that punch earlier was already the strongest. However, the firmament Nirvana Palm did not. At this moment, with 500 years of spiritual essence cultivation, it condensed into a fist imprint that emitted a terrifying vibration force that continuously rose in destructive power. Multiple shadows overlapped and transformed endlessly, colliding head-on with Heian Fengui. Chi! 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 Worldly energy raged and stirred. Su Jingxing easily engaged Heian Fengui. Boom! 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 A tragic explosion shook the air. Neither Su Jingxing nor Heian Fengui probed. Both of them used their strongest attacks without any scruples, wanting to kill the other. In terms of realm, Heian Fengui was similar to Su Jingxing. In terms of combat experience, Heian Fengui, who carried out all kinds of missions all year round, was much stronger. If it were a Grotto Heaven realm martial artist from the divine martial arts system, they would be defeated in a few moves from the crazy attacks of Heian Fengui. But Su Jingxing wasn't. The title of spiritual martial arts overlord was not an exaggeration. Su Jingxing's physical body was only stronger than Heian Fengui. Therefore, when Su Jingxing and Heian Fengui fought in close combat, not only did he not fall to a disadvantage, he became more and more valiant. Although Heian Fengui did not become more aggrieved the more they fought, the shock and anger in its heart kept rising. Today, it had finally witnessed the might of a human spiritual martial arts overlord. However, the demonic body of the black-silver race was also famous in countless worlds. It was already embarrassing that Heian Fengman was destroyed. If Heian Fengui didn't win, how could he face anyone again? How could he return to the demon world and be qualified to accept missions again? Die. Su Jingxing had to die. Not only to complete the mission given by the demon emperor, but also to eliminate the hatred in its heart. With a roar, the power of Heian Fengui's demonic body completely erupted, creating ripples in the air. Then, as if out of control. Boom! 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 The explosions were endless. A deafening bang suddenly sounded. The firmament nirvana palm imprint in the sky dissipated with the blood moons. Compared to Heian Fengmang, Heian Fenggue was much stronger. Clearly, there were differences in strength among demon kings. For this reason, Su Jingxing put on his newly obtained boxing glove divine weapon and clashed head-on with Heian Fenggue's demonic blade. The two collided, producing large amounts of sparks that bloomed in the air. The surging energy aura that seeped out froze the air. Then, a fearsome aura erupted in the air. The frightening aftershocks it released sliced through the layers beneath the ground directly below. Swish! 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 Dust flew and floated in the air. The powerful energy shockwave even stirred up circles of hideous ripples in the air. Human spiritual martial arts. Heian Fenggue suddenly roared and laughed wildly. How much power do you have left to use? Ha ha ha. Su Jingxing didn't answer, his expression remained unchanged. Vast ocean circulated and spun quickly, absorbing the demonic energy in the air to produce spiritual essence to replenish its consumption. As he fought, he replenished his energy. How could his strength be exhausted? It was wishful thinking for Heian Fenggue to want to kill him with just this. As expected. Heian Fenggue saw that Su Jingxing was indifferent and the aura of his attacks did not show any signs of weakening. Instead, it was getting stronger and stronger. When it realized that the demonic energy it released had been absorbed by Su Jingxing, its expression turned grim. It immediately sneered coldly. Black and silver light flashed, and its demonic might rose continuously. A blood moon hung high in the sky, releasing endless suppression in an attempt to crush Su Jingxing through the soul. Su Jingxing immediately sensed that something was wrong. Divine power? The move executed by Heian Fenggue was actually also a divine power. A divine power of the demons? Su Jingxing's expression was cold as he decisively executed his divine power as well. Boom! 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 A dull bang resembling thunder was heard. A large number of astral winds suddenly appeared in the air above Su Jingxing's head, as well as the True of the Void obtained from unlocking the flame card. Endless chaotic worldly energy was affected and gathered from all directions, forming a huge vortex. A torrential force descended from the sky and attached itself to Su Jingxing. Divine power, command the winds and fire. The astral winds and the scorching true fire of the void fused into one and swiftly bombarded Heian Fenggue. Swoosh! White light drowned the world. Heian Fenggue simply closed its eyes and used its demonic will as its vision. Thump! Stepping in the air with both feet, Heian Fenggue's figure flashed. It transformed into a shadow and charged crazily in Su Jingxing's direction at a ghostly speed. The blood moon hanging high in the sky also flew with it. Boom boom boom. Space shattered layer by layer. Heian Fenggue's aura soared into the sky. With the augmentation of his divine power, it rushed in front of Su Jingxing. In an instant, a terrifying suppression crushed down on Su Jingxing like an avalanche. Boom! 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 Loud explosions sounded non-stop. The fluctuating and violent energy caused ripples in the air. On the ground, visible cracks appeared. Divine power against divine power. In less than 3 seconds, the astral winds dissipated and the true fire of the void was destroyed. Su Jingxing lost and quickly retreated. He did not lose on the attributes of the divine power, but on the grade of the divine power. Heian Fenggue's divine power was an intermediate divine power, while command the winds and fire was a minor divine power. The difference in one word was worlds apart. So. Boom! Space shattered, and a fearsome aura exploded in the air. Su Jingxing also activated his divine power. As his body expanded, a head grew between each side of his shoulders and neck. For more arms quickly grew out from above and below his arms. Intermediate divine power, 3 heads and 6 arms. Without the 6 faces and 12 palms of the battle race, he only had 3 heads and 6 arms, as well as the spiritual martial arts overlord body. A torrential aura stirred up countless ripples in the air around him. His 6 eyes shot out dazzling light and locked onto Hein Fengui. A second divine power. With a blood moon above his head, demonic energy wrapped around Hein Fengui. Shock appeared in its eyes. You actually grasped 2 divine powers. One of them was even an intermediate divine power. Compared to the wind and fire minor divine power from before, this divine power gave the Hein Fengui a feeling of extreme danger. A human spiritual martial arts overlord had actually grasped 2 divine powers. Attack together, kill him.